he told me about a colleague of his who was in the office of the Secretary of Defense before the Iraq War, who had written something mildly skeptical of the WMD claims and was basically threatened, his pension was threatened to not talk about that. So my question is, how would you as chief executive not only protect whistleblowers, but actually change the culture within institutions like the Pentagon and the State Department so that sane and independent analysis of questions of war and peace becomes the new norm? Thank you.
Thank you. Leadership starts at the top. Someone asked me earlier today that they have heard points like the ones that I'm raising about the cost of war being raised by other politicians in the past who have then proceeded to break their promises and to resort to the same old status quo that the foreign policy establishments and the military-industrial complex have been perpetuating across both political parties for a very long time. And so what I shared with them, and this was the New Hampshire Youth Movement, that this question was raised. It is because of my background and my experience as a soldier and one who knows the cost of war. As someone who's deployed twice to the Middle East, I served in a medical unit where every single day in Iraq I was confronted with the high human cost of war and who pays the price. Throughout my last 6 years in Congress, I've served on the Foreign Affairs and Armed Services committees and have seen firsthand the effect and the perpetuation of these policies by the status quo, by the establishment. There's no other candidate who's running for president who has this experience and conviction and understanding about the problem and the courage to take on those problems in order to change direction. So that leadership at the top, in order to change that culture that you're talking about, to protect whistleblowers and to make sure that we have leaders in the Pentagon who reflect these values of putting the interests of the people in our country first, rather than continuing this narrative that supports more wasteful regime change wars that further escalates this nuclear crisis that we are facing. This is real. I have never in my life had any ambition just to be president so that I can go and sit in the Oval Office and people can call me president. That's not something I've ever been interested in. But I'm running for president because these issues are real and they're personal to me. They're personal to all of us, because each of us in our own way is paying the price for these wars. And the need to bring about this sea change in our policies is urgent and it's pressing, because we are all paying the price. People in other countries where we're waging these wasteful wars are paying the price. So it's bringing my experience to the forefront that will begin this sea change in our policies, and it's making sure that we have people who represent these values in the Pentagon as the Secretary of Defense, fulfilling these positions that will protect and serve us, our constitutional rights and protections, our freedoms, and our interests.